Good morning to everyone. We have this morning we have people from France, from Italy and Spain. That's why we're going to do this webinar in English. So my name is Guy Hervier. I'm editor-in-chief of Informatic News, and we have the pleasure to host the webinar Understand and Manage DDoS Attacks organized by F5 Networks. We're going to have today two experts from F5 Networks. We have Mathieu Dierig, who is a security expert at F5 Networks South Europe. And we also have Vincent Lavergne, who is pre-sales director South Europe, for this webinar. So let's talk about what's going on right now. In the last month, in September, we have three different events that were a little bit scary. First of all, we have a journalist, a blogger, a well-known blogger called Brian Krebs, who is publishing a website called krebsonsecurity.com. And he had a very severe attack from a new botnet composed of DVR and video cameras and other things. When I say things, it's things connected on the internet, so it's Internet of Things. And the attack was about more than 600 gigabytes per second, which was at that time the largest attack ever seen. Then, like a few days after that, we had a second attack, which we know very well in France because it was targeting OVH, the French largest hosting provider. And this attack, which we don't have a lot of detail on it, was about double the size. So this was about a full terabyte. And then, like a few days after that, we had the biggest one that had it was publicized worldwide on every media because this was a major attack attacking against DIN, the DNS service company based in the US. And this attack was shutting down major website well-known like Twitter, Spotify, GitHub, and others about that, and also the New York Times. So this was about the same scale, more than 1 terabyte per second. So the question we have, and that's why we are doing that webinar, is what's going on, what's happening right now. It seems that DDoS, of course, is nothing new. We have seen these attacks for years now, but it seems that these attacks are a little bit different, and they are different scale, and they are using objects like fridge, DVR, CCTV, and other objects connected to the internet. So that's a new steps using objects and the internet for more massive attack and distributed, because, as you know, objects are numbered by hundreds and thousands and then billions and billions. So this is a new scale we are attaining now. So the question is very simple. It's what's going on, and is this something new, or is this just a different kind, different scale, or is this something really new?
Thank you. This is, in fact, Vincent from F5 talking.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. No worries. You're welcome. Thank you for the introduction. I think you're completely right. DDoS are not new. It's something that is pretty well known in the industry, and specifically in the last couple of years. However, what happened last month is we've hit in a month three times the record in terms of size of the attack. So what's happening? What's new? I think what is new is the type of botnet that are used to power those attacks. And the common source of those three different attacks that you mentioned, the Crackdown security, the OVH, and recently the DNS, all three of them, from what we know and from what has been reported from these companies, they noticed that this is a new botnet called Mirai. And what's new is that it's specifically targeting IoT, Internet of Things devices. So you mentioned the fridge, the DVR, the cameras, and so on. And effectively, F5 Lab, we have a threat intelligence team that is doing some research, and we've noticed, and we published a report back in July 2016, so roughly 3-4 months ago, specifically mentioning the rise of these new types of botnets. And there is a reference later on in this presentation, in this report, but what is the key learning is that the hacker industry is specifically hunting for those type of devices because the security of these devices can be sometimes weak because sometimes a lot of those devices still have the default login and password and can be accessed through internet using telnet or SSH. And that was the key learning of this report. We're seeing a massive increase of telnet and SSH brute force attack in the market. And what is interesting for these hackers is to build a massive botnet. Mirai is apparently estimated to have around 150,000 devices, and the time to build this type of IoT is way shorter than the typical laptops and computers. So that's why we've seen hackers being very interested into those devices because they are powerful. I mean, a camera can do has some power to do some attacks, and if you multiply this by the number of devices, this is becoming interesting.
Just one quick question, Vincent. You mentioned 150,000 objects, and you said the time to build a botnet like that is a lot shorter. Could you give us an idea about how long it takes to do that?
So the number of devices of Mirai botnet is an estimation so far. We from the recent attack of DNS, it looks like more than 100,000 devices participated into this attack, but there are estimations that the botnet is bigger. For the time to build such a botnet, in our report, we've noticed, and you can read later on, that it's estimated to be roughly a year to build this botnet, and that's really what is the new thing about Mirai. It is. We will see later on when we're going to analyze the code because it's public. It's been published online. We can analyze how it is working, and I think the key part is how they are recruiting. And this is something that has been industrialized with very simple techniques to get into the device. I mean, basically logging, password, the default one, accessible on the internet. So this is why it's becoming very quick. And yeah, estimation is 1 year, but we will see with the new Mirai. With the Mirai malware code being published, what we will probably going to see is new updates and what we call copycats, so similar type of malware going to appear in the next couple of months.
Okay, just another quick question. And before that, I didn't mention in my introduction that all the participants can ask questions, and all these questions will be answered at the end of the webinar. So my quick question is, you said the Mirai code was published. So in a way, it seems that it's a good thing because you can study the code and you can work to fight against this code. But on the other side, it looks like it could be a problem because everybody could use it.
Correct. And we probably going to see, as I said, copycat or enhancement of this code. But at the same time, we can also analyze it and learn better how to defend it. And that's what F5 has done. And I mean, very simply, you can access the code. It's on GitHub, which is a very famous website. And what we can learn in a high-level view, it contains two parts. There is the loader, which is basically the tool where you're gonna scan for IoT devices and logging into them. And the second part is the malware itself, the set of DDoS weapons that you're going to install in the memory of the IoT device, and that will connect to the CNC, which we call the command and control, where you're gonna basically register and wait for your DDoS orders. So what I suggest is first, we take a couple of minutes to focus on the first part of the Mirai malware to analyze how the loader is working. So how you're going to recruit very quickly a big number of devices in your botnet. So how are you going to build the botnet? So basically, you're using your already devices that are already part of the botnet to scan for other IoT devices. And what you're going to do is you're going to use default password. And when you identify a machine that is potentially accessible, you're going to feed back into a report server. On the right-hand side of the slide, you are seeing some of the default login and password. I'm showing them because this was part of the Mirai malware code that they are using how to detect default login and password on specific types of IoT devices. Then, when we have identified, and if you can see it here on the screen, and all the B are basically the machine which are part of the bot, they report into a small piece which is called the R, which is the report server. They are launched into the loader. So the loader will specifically attack those machines and install the malware. So this is how it works. And basically, the V green becomes B machine, part of the botnet. So this is how you're scaling your botnet very quickly. So it's very clever. And I think what is really the big news of Mirai is how they industrialize, I would say, scanning and acquiring new new IoT devices into the botnet.
Another quick question. Do you have any idea about who developed that code Mirai and who are behind the three attacks, especially the latest one, which is by far the biggest one?
We'll come into the type of attacks just after responding your question, but I think it's still early to say who's behind it. There is, I would say, in the industry, 2, 3. I would say trends. There is one which can be, of course, a state-sponsored attack. I think it's very early to say, and there is no proof about that. There is also, I think, a series of events that worth to follow, and I think there's probably the US looking at it very carefully. If we follow the events, the first attack on Krebs on security is following a group of hackers who've been identified and put in jail for being behind a very famous DDoS as a service. So you're paying someone to DDoS a victim online, which was called VDoS. And this is, I think, the day after this was announced, that they put those people in jail, that DDoS, Krebs on security was DDoS. And that's maybe the DDoS industry reacting to this. So there's different possibilities. I think it's still unclear, and we let the relevant organization to find who is behind it. In terms of type of attacks, I think it's very quickly here the toolkit that it is installed is not a revolution. I think it's a tool set of very common attacks that all of the customers are seeing: SYN flood, SYN attack, UDP reflection, etc. They're worth to know they are also using another online DDoS as a service tool as a possibility. But I think what is maybe worth to mention and focus a little bit is there are some more which are, I would qualify them as exotic, meaning that they are known, but they are rare, and we are not seeing them very often in the tool set. And specifically one that Mathieu is going to explain just after is the DNS water torture, that is a bit rare. Just one mention, and Mathieu is going to speak about it later on, is that as the code is public, F5 has analyzed it, and one of the attacks specifically on the layer 7 get flood attacks, we've seen that the code is vulnerable itself, and by simply installing an I rule, which is a simple piece of code on an F5 device, you can stop this type of attacks by defeating directly the botnet. So we're going to see it later on. It's interesting.
Okay. I think we have understood what the picture is going on. It seems that about what you just said, there is nothing very new. You said all this is very clever, very well done, but there is nothing new. The only thing new and that's pretty massive, that people are going to use the object connected in the internet, and those are numbers by billions. So it's a major thing. And I remember reading reports like 2 years or 3 years ago even, saying that the Internet of Things or Internet of Objects is a very interesting thing, but we might someday have some security problem, and I think we are facing that problem right now. So that's a little bit scary and frightening. But now the question is, what can we do against that, and especially what can F5 networks can do, and what can F5 networks propose to fight against this kind of attacks?
Yeah. Yes, Guy. So let's go deeper on the latest attack to DNS. If we have a look on the traces, on the logs, we saw some interesting stuff. Like first of all, it was a DNS-based attack. Okay, one part of the attack, of course. Okay, we saw as well some HTTP flood attack, but let's focus on the first one, on the DNS attack. First of all the requests were legitimate and well-formed. Okay, so that means that all the security equipments on the path will let the traffic goes to the destination. Okay, because it's a well-formed and legitimate traffic. Second thing, it's a non-cacheable DNS request. I will explain later on why, but it's important to understand that all the requests were not cacheable. Okay. Then the third point is all the DNS requests came from trusted DNS sources. Okay, these sources are called recursive DNS server, like the public one from Google, 8.8.8.8. This one is a trusted DNS source. So of course it's a legitimate source. Okay, and the volume was amazing. Okay, it's very well distributed with a very high volume, from 150,000 boxes bought on the internet. It's a huge volume. Okay.
Just one question to be sure I understood well. When you say it's the first point, they are well-formed and legitimate DNS requests, they look like legitimate, but they are not, of course.
Of course, they look like. So that means they are RFC compliant. Okay. So all the firewall or all equipment on the path will let the traffic goes to the destination. But of course, the request should not reach the destination. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if we have a look on the Mirai code, so as Vincent told us, it's available on GitHub. We can see several kinds of attack in the code. Okay, we can see some very, I would say, basic and well-known attacks with the SYN flood, egg flood, and so on. And we can see some nice attack like the GRE and the DNS water torture. Okay, so the line 36 is the DNS water torture attack. And let's have a look on this one, because this one was the attack used against DNS. We think, okay, we think. So if we have a look deeper on this attack, it's very simple to understand because it's a very clever attack. First of all, I repeat, but requests are legitimate and well-formed. Okay, so they respect the RFC. Second point, the request come from legitimate recursive DNS server. So either a service provider, okay, so it could be a SFR, Orange, Vodafone, and so on, or coming from a public one. Okay, so on the right-hand side, you can see a sample of code from Mirai, where the botnet can use public DNS server if the botnet is not able to reach a DNS service provider. Okay, so for the 4 public DNS server are directly written in the code. And the last point is the request itself. So the request itself, as you said, it's well-formed, but it's useless. I mean, useless is because there is no destination. Okay, it's a blah 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 dot www.mydomain.com, and unfortunately, this blah 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 does not exist. So that means that neither service provider nor public DNS server can respond via their cache to the request. So let's have a look on the dynamic explanation. On the left, I have my botnet. Okay, it's an IoT device. It could be a CCTV, a fridge, what you want. This one is infected and is sending a request, legitimate, blah 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 .www.mydomain.com to a DNS server, either the service provider, if I can use my box, internet box DNS server, or via the public one, Google, level 3, and so on. The request is not cacheable. Okay, so the request is not in the DNS server cache. So of course, the DNS server cache, the DNS server will forward the traffic to the victim, authoritative DNS server. Okay, so the DNS server inside the 4 walls in the data centers. So DNS server from the ISP, we forward the request to authoritative DNS server 1, and we repeat that until the server goes down. Okay, when the server goes down, with the DNS server, we move to the second one because the first one is not able to answer, and so on. Okay, so it's very easy. It's a very clever method to shut down all the DNS server on premises. Okay, so if I would say something, it's not so simple. Okay, because it's a DNS request, so it's very simple to understand. We know what is a DNS request, but it's not simple because it's very difficult to make a differentiation between a legitimate and non-legitimate traffic.
So is there any methods to make the difference between a legitimate and non-legitimate, and especially a legitimate which looks like legitimate, but which is not legitimate? Is it simple to make the difference?
Yeah, so it's not that simple. So there is one solution, okay? It's to switch to what we call an hybrid model. The hybrid model will propose 2 levels of protection. One on premises, so really in the 4 walls in the data centers, and this one will be able to analyze bit and byte the traffic. But we need as well an off-premises solution in the cloud, just because we are seeing a lot of volumes. So we need both of them. And
so just to be sure that because we are in the security field, when you say hybrid model, this is a general meaning of hybrid model, which means combining something on the public cloud and something on-premise, right? Is that correct?
Right. You're right, exactly. That's why we need to combine these 2 kinds of protection today, and with protection on premises in the data center and in the cloud. So we could start with a very simple one, the off-premises. Okay, so let's just have a high-level explanation on the off-premises solution and what does it matter? If we have a look on the latest attacks, of course, all our customers have internet links, and there is a size for these links. Most of the time in EMEA, it's 100, 200, 300 megabytes per second. Okay, this is the mean we can see in EMEA. Some public organizations have gigabytes, sorry, but most of the time it's roughly megabytes. And on the right, you can see on the camembert, you can see I would say 38% of the time it's between 1 and 10 gigs. So it's over the internet link size. So our customer at one time, and I will explain it later on, at one time need to move the traffic, need to switch and route the traffic off premises to a solution that is able to handle this traffic. Okay, so that's why the off premises matters. And if I switch to the on premises, it matters too. Why? Because on premises, we need to analyze bit and byte deeper the traffic. Because if the traffic is legitimate, we need to check if this traffic has to pass through the security solutions. And only the on-premises is able to do so. Okay? So F5 is able to analyze from layer 2 to layer 7. And as you can see, we analyze on we split the solution in 4 layers: the network layer, the DNS layer, SSL layer, and application layer. So for all of them, we can apply and assign security and profile in order to protect against DDoS attack. So if we have a look on what we call a reference architecture, on this slide, it's very simple to understand. On the right-hand side, these are the assets, the resources to protect. So it could be on a data center itself with 4 walls, or it could be public or private clouds. So it could be an Azure, an Amazon, a Google. It could be really something in a cloud, or it could be a SaaS as well. It could be a Salesforce, ServiceNow, and so on. So on the middle of the screen, you can see the on-premises solution. It's called DDoS Hybrid Defender, but it could be any F5 boxes, okay? Any F5 appliance is able to enable DDoS protection. On the left, we can see the cloud solution is called F5 Silverline, and I will talk about it later on and explain exactly what it is, but this is our cloud-based platform. This is our scrubbing centers, so washing machines. And of course, where the traffic can go directly on premises, or it could pass through the cloud. It's up to you to decide the path to use for a specific application. So I would like to go deeper on the on-premises solution. So the solutions that I will put in place in my data centers in order to analyze the traffic and make decisions. So first of all, I take one example, very simple to understand. It's on the right corner, you can see the one box called BigIP 5250. It's a middle-sized platform, and it's a stateful device. Okay, stateful means all the traffic will pass through this box. On the datasheet, I have some numbers: 700 connection per second. Okay, connection per second, and 24 million of concurrent connection. Just to explain the letters. Let's do some math very quickly. My question is very simple. How long the box can take into account the traffic? How much time the box is able to handle the traffic? Let's do some math. If I take the worst packet in the world, it's a UDP packet with a minimum packet size, okay? And it's 2 minutes and 40. A big IP box without any DDoS protection enabled can handle the traffic during 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So, of course, I will enable some protection. So I will increase in number, okay, to perhaps 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes. It depends how I deploy my DDoS protection. but I will increase this time. But of course, what can we do within this time, 2 minutes and 40? So I would say I will split the protection in two categories. The network category is the application category. On the left-hand side, this is a network one. It's based on what we call vectors. So a vector is a kind of signatures for a network layer. So I would like to recognize this is a sinful. I would like to recognize this is a no layer 4 attack. Okay, so on the big IP boxes, there are more than 120 vectors and 84 at the moment, 84 in hardware. Hardware means that the FPGA will inspect the traffic and will block the traffic, okay? It's not the CPU. So the rest of the CPU will be used for the legitimate traffic, to load balance, to decrypt the SSL, to make job.
So just one question, you said 84 in hardware and 120 altogether. It means that when they are in hardware, they are handling a on a more powerful way, I suppose. But then you are allowed to increase and add new vectors with time, right? Is that correct?
Right. You're right. Every 6 months, we increase the number of vectors in the box, and we increase the vectors supported in hardware, exactly, to improve the way and the time to mitigate. On the right, this is the layer 7, so it's based on the application layer. So it's really different. In that case, I will challenge the user, okay? So the source of the attack. So I will challenge the user by sending some piece of code to know if it's a human or not. So it's simple to understand, but it's more complicated to put in place for F5. So we will change the user via JavaScript with CAPTCHA sometimes. CAPTCHA is a little bit more intrusive, but we can do it. And we have some behavioral DDoS as well. So we are able to I would say, to make a score, to make scoring on one user to know if this is a human or a bot. And if it is a bot, we can deny or we can rate limit the bandwidth for this specific user and not for all the users. And it's very important to understand F5 is able to mitigate user per user on the network layer. So network layer, it's an IP address, or on the application layer. In that case, it's a user. So let's concentrate now on Mirai. I explain what we can do, so how we can do it now. So if we have a look on the water torture, DNS water torture attack to DNS, F5 has a very simple feature called DNS EXPRESS. So DNS EXPRESS is very simple to understand. A UDP packet cannot be challenged, okay? Because a UDP, I send the packet, that's it. So I need to handle all the traffic. This is a solution. I need to be able to handle all the traffic that come from the source to my destination. So DNS EXPRESS is a zone transfer. So I will transfer the job, the DNS query answer and query job to a big IP. A DNS server, it could be a bind or it could be a window, anyway, can handle up to 100,000 requests per second. Okay, so it's good. Okay, for a day-to-day, it's enough. But during an attack, it's not enough. So if we move the job to the F5, F5 will be handled up to 10 million requests per second. So during a water torture attack, the big IP will see legitimate traffic like blah blah blah.mydomain.com. Blah 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 is not a good entry, so the big IP will discard the request, and it can handle up to 10 million requests per second. So it's enough. Okay, it's enough, and perhaps in the 10 millions we have 1,000 legitimate traffic, and we will forward the traffic to the DNS server on premises if needed. So very simple to understand, and everything is serving out of the RAM. So very fast. And the second solution, Vincent explained that we saw an HTTP flood, and as well we saw that there is an exploit against Mirai botnet. with an iRule. So an iRule is a piece of code that you can put into your big IP. And this is an example, 26 line only, to make the botnet dumb. Why? Because there is an exploit, I would say, a non-verification on the botnet side. If we answer with a wrong HTTP redirect, the botnet crash. So very simple IO to put in place. Okay, so available on Dev Central. You can see Dev Central, and you copy paste the IO. So if you remember, I told you on the middle size platform, if I do not enable any DDoS protection, neither networking, no application layer, I should be able to handle the traffic for 2 minutes and 40. Of course, if I enable the protection, I will increase the number. So during 2 minutes and 40, I can do something. It could be done automatically. Okay, this is called automation, or it could be done manually. So with F5 and our DDoS protection, DDoS Hybrid Defender solution, you can use what we call signaling. Signaling is a way to inform the cloud solution, F5 Silverline, to inform the cloud solution that we are under attack. The pipe is fully loaded at 90%. We need helpful hand. We need someone to handle the traffic right now because the pipe is full. The box is not full, but the pipe is full. So we need someone to handle the traffic. This is called signaling, okay? So the on-premises DHD on the right will send a signal to the F5 Silverline on the left, and the SOC will reroute the traffic from on-prem to off-premises. So if I come back to my architecture, now it's easy to understand. On the middle, the DDoS Hybrid Defender will send a signal to F5 Silverline on the left, and the traffic will never go anymore to the DHD, but we go to the cloud directly. Okay.
Just one quick question about the hybrid architecture. To summarize what you said, do you mean that having the purpose of the cloud here is to be able to handle all the peak of traffic that is not handled by the box on premise? Is that it, or does the system in the cloud is doing more than that?
It is doing more than that. Actually, the cloud system will handle all the traffic, and it will do exactly the same things. Okay, so in the cloud we have the same kind of protection, but it's more volumetric oriented. So we will make DNS analysis, network analysis, and we could make as well application analysis. Okay, so we will do exactly the same things, but more volumetric oriented. So good question, and let's move to the off-premises solution, and I will explain you. So the off-premises solution from F5 is called F5 Silverline. F5 Silverline is very simple to understand. It's we call scrubbing centers. On the map, you can see 4 scrubbing centers. 2 in the US, 1 in EMEA, 1 in Asia, and with 2 SOCs. The SOCs are the main part of the solution. Without any SOC, you cannot mitigate any volumetric DDoS attack, because you will automatically start mitigation, but we need human, we need guys, engineer to adapt and align the protection to the attack. So it's a 24/7 protection. It's an anycast solution. What does it mean, anycast? Anycast means that we load balance the attack all over the world. So the botnet is not only in US. Okay, the botnet is in the US, in EMEA, perhaps in Asia. So we load balance everything all over the world. So all the 4 scrubbing centers will mitigate the solution. All the scrubbing centers are connected to tier 1, so we have a huge capacity of mitigation. The scrubbing capacity is up to 2 terabytes today, so it's enough today. So as I said, the SOC for me and for all security vendors is very important, because when an attack, DDoS attack occurs, of course, a lot of gears, equipment will trigger something. I can see a DDoS attack right now, and I can start the mitigation with my vectors, with my threshold, and so on. But after a period of time, we need someone to tune, to make the protection custom to the customer. Okay, so if it's a DNS protector, I will put in place, perhaps in my protection, I will put in place only the FQDN hello. Okay, so only human can do that. Okay, and this is real value added from a SOC. And I would like to add two things. The first one is the CERT. The SOC works with the CERT team. The CERT is a security incident response team. So all our engineers working for support, research, malware research team will populate, I would say, one team in order to prevent, in order to inform the SOC that right now it's a Mirai attack, and right now we have some information, relevant information to protect against Mirai. And the second thing is F5 Labs. F5 Labs is available on the web, f5.com/labs, and we provide to our customer with relevant information regarding the current attack, the current malware, and so on. Okay, so it's very relevant information for the SOC and for our customers.
So this is Vincent talking. If the key learning that we wanted to give you is that these recent attacks are raising the bar of what was possible in terms of DDoS, leveraging IoT devices which are apparently simple to get access to, which are daily increasing. For us, the conclusion is that a DDoS protection on premises only is now not enough. It's clearly for us, those three events are clearly saying big companies need to have a hybrid solution for DDoS, meaning on premises, but also in the cloud. And a lot of companies today are equipped only on premises with a small protection from a small to medium protection from their ISP with some what we call clean the pipe offers, but it is clearly not enough. And with the size of the attacks as we've seen recently, 1 terabyte, even for a service provider, is very difficult to defend. So this is the call for action for us, is to every company to look and to change their strategy in terms of DDoS protection and to look for a hybrid method. We've given also a lot of information, reports, etc. We wanted to show you here all the different links if you want to learn more, if you want to get into more details. And I hope that this webinar was useful for you and you learned something.
We can go to the question and answer section. I'm going to start with one question, and then I will let you answer the question that all the attendees are asking. You mentioned at the beginning that you were estimating the number of objects for the latest attack of the range of 100,000 objects. And this was able to build an attack of 1 terabyte per second. Let's say that someday in the near future, we will have like a BotNet with 1 million, 10 million objects. Does that mean that the capacity of the attack will be 10 times or 100 times bigger?
It's a good question. I think, unfortunately, time will tell us. I think it's also a very big message to the IoT builders that they should reconsider their security. I think there was one particular camera vendor that was targeted, and they publicly said that they're going to review their security. So I think it's a two-way. We need to address this as a community. It's not only the vendors such as F5 and our colleagues that need to increase their capacity to defend the multi-terabyte type of attacks. It's also the companies to review their DDoS protection strategy, but as well the IoT vendors to strengthen the security of and to reconsider their strategy around here. But of course, yes, we are probably going to see multi-terabyte attacks. When? It's a good question. And what is the next bar we're going to reach? I'm sorry to say, but we don't know for the moment.
Yeah.
One question. You mentioned all the IoT vendor will have to reconsider their security, the security of the object they are building. But this is true for the object we have in our life for a long time, like fridge, DVD, DVR, and CCTV, and the others. But what about the object that the smallest one you put in engine, in cars, in all these smallest one that they are, of course, that's for cost purposes that the vendor didn't put all this security barrier to have objects that are safe. And so if, for example, you selling by 1,000 of this object, and then the cost will increase by a factor of 2. Do you think the vendor will have the security level to have this object secure?
Today, I think we need to have a global approach on the IoT product security. Of course, the main one is it a job to be done, I would say, on the manufacturer side, or is it something on the user side? Okay, the consumer. For me, unfortunately, the vendor manufacturer cannot, I would say, increase security except if there is a backdoor. Okay, I forget the backdoor, but any consumer has to know that they need to protect their IoT. So on the internet, we can see a lot of blogs and exchange and forum where security specialists talk about a way to not to ban, but to block some IoT devices that are not security compliant. So I think it's a global approach to have, but today it's too soon because IoT is new and it's too soon to decide what to do and how to do it.
I want maybe to mention 2 questions which are asking into the chat room that are worth to mention. One is, what about if the IoT has multiple connectivity and possibility to use IPv4 and IPv6? I think it's an interesting one. And for us, all of the F5 devices are dual stack. So for us, it doesn't change in terms of protection. I don't think it will double the capacity of the botnet if they have dual network card and dual stack IP protocols. I think the limitation is the capacity, the CPU of the IoT device, and which for some of them are very limited, but for some of them is pretty powerful. So yeah, I don't think it's the matter of IPv4 or IPv6. It's more related to the let's say the power, the CPU, the capacity of the device. The other question is, do we know if Mirai use only the default login and password, or did it also use some vulnerabilities and backdoor? From what's known and what's public, it's mainly login and password, which I'll be honest to say, this is the quick and dirty method, and it's very easy to get into. What we are probably going to see is also copycats of Mirai that are also going to use vendor backdoors. But so far, what we've seen from the analysis, it's mainly default login and password. And to be honest, the difficulty is that even the consumers are not aware that the login and password have been left open. And that's also what Mathieu was mentioning. It's a global approach. We need also, as an industry, to educate the consumers about the risk of putting an an IoT device connected to the internet. Is we, of course, all the markets is and the media are focusing on the cars, connected cars. We've seen in the press couple of very famous videos on how to hack some vehicles. I think here the car vendors are paying a specific attention, and they are looking into securing as strong as possible their vehicles. But some other devices are less. I mean, security comes as the latest considered, because today IoT is a new market, and it's the how can I take as quickly as possible the market share, and unfortunately some vendors are putting security at last.
Mm-hmm. Maybe one last question about the end of that webinar. It's a very simple question. You mentioned at the beginning that the last attack on DIN was built on a botnet of 100,000 objects, and these objects have been infected by Mirai. So do they have to be clean, or do they have to live with that infected code in their system?
It's yeah. The malware is running in RAM, so it's just rebooting the IoT, and that's it. Rebooting the IoT, change the password, and
okay. Yeah. Pretty simple. Okay.
Yeah, pretty simple. So for any consumer without any, I would say, skills on let's say IT, they can just reboot the CCTV and change the default password.
But then you have to know that this object is infected, of course.
Yeah, and you need to be more skilled for that, because malware protects itself. So Mirai protects itself. So it disables the telnet SSH on the box in order to do not be overwritten by another malware. Mm-hmm. So if you're not able to connect by telnet or SSH to your IoT, that means you are infected.
Okay, well, thank you to you, Mathieu, and to you, Vincent. Thank you to all our participants. We hope that this webinar has been helpful for you. So there was a slide which all the slide will be online, of course, and all the resource will be available. Thank you to all. Thanks, gracias, grazie, et merci, and à bientôt.